Hey guys, welcome to Switchcraft and Switchery. It's Ryan here with Jeremy, and we're going to be talking about Mario Kart World today, the launch title for the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, I know this game has been sort of a bright spot in the Nintendo Switch 2 launch, and also probably the biggest source of controversy, just for a variety of reasons. So we're going to try to just not cover the direct exactly or anything like that, but just give our impressions of what we thought about the game from what we've seen so far, the specifics, kind of like what we're excited for, what we kind of wish was there, and then, you know, maybe we'll wrap up at the end by talking kind of about the elephant in the room, and you know, we'll leave that for the end. So the first thing I kind of want to say about this is at this time I had read the whole dev interview that Nintendo did with the guys that did Mario Kart World, and that actually gave me a lot of positive thoughts on the series or the game moving forward, because you've got a lot of veterans who have been working on the Mario Kart series, and they kind of acknowledged that Mario Kart 8 was kind of a perfect formula, right? And they had said from the get-go that they wanted to reimagine the Mario Kart series and not just do the same thing over again. So I think after that, I'm kind of coming at this a different perspective than I was a couple of weeks ago when the game launched. So I don't know, did you get to read any of those articles?
Yeah, I kind of skimmed through it a little bit. I read part of it, and then I listened to some videos on my drive to work this morning of people talking about it. I didn't get all the way through reading the article myself, but I did see a good amount of it.
So one of the things that I think was super key in the beginning is they talked about performance, right? Then they said that originally that this game was meant to be Mario Kart 9. And it was going to be
for the Switch 1.
Yeah, it was for the Switch 1.
And they had started working on it at the end of 2017.
Yes. And so
I think that's what it said, right?
Yeah. And
crazy.
So keeping that in mind and hearing them talk about what this evolved into, and then basically when the Nintendo Switch 2 came out, they basically were, or internally they were hey, we're releasing the Switch 2. Here's what the specs are. It just completely opened up a lot of stuff for them. And I know one of the things they kept saying in the article was they didn't want the game to run below 60 FPS, which,
yes,
I mean, it's a racing game. It should never, yes,
please,
in 2025, that shouldn't be an issue that we have. But that
for a racing game,
that just shows kind of the limitation, I guess, that the original Switch had really reached, right? And so I think that's really cool to see that, hey, they did not want to compromise on the performance side, which is something Nintendo honestly has had to do in the past a lot, I feel over the last couple consoles, just because they're not using that high performance hardware. So something else that they mentioned that I thought was really cool, and I feel it's reflected in this series, they had said that the original Mario Kart 8 was meant to be kind of sleek, and they wanted this design to be more playful. So they actually went back and took a bunch of inspiration from the original Mario Kart and Mario Kart 64, and just wanted to make this a more accessible game, right? And they wanted to just keep that kind of at the heart of the game. And so they kind of took that approach by obviously you got the standard Mario Kart characters in there, but then we've got a bunch of new guys, right? And
Cow.
The Cow seems to be an internet celebrity.
Oh, dude, I can't wait. My tradition is always, with every Mario Kart game, it's Mario the first time, and then after that I will be a Cow main. I'm so excited.
That's awesome.
Cow on Moo Moo Meadows, dude, let's go.
Dude, that's fourth wall. That's holding mirrors up together.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see them kind of take that approach and say hey, we want to reimagine, we want to keep it playful, we want to go back to the roots of what made Mario Kart itself kind of really great and what people fell in love with. And so I'm glad to see that the devs are keeping that kind of in their forefront and not losing sight, because I feel when you've got a game, right, that has this kind of perfect formula, it's easy to say well, what's next, right, and kind of get uninspired.
Yeah.
So let's jump into like the Grand Prix and Knockout Tour. I guess we'll start with Grand Prix because it's definitely different this time around. We've got your standard kind of like 4 tracks, right? You play, but instead you drive between the tracks in this big open world. I feel like that's going to add just a lot of replay value. I'm still a little confused because I know in the direct or at some point they said like you don't necessarily have to take a direct path. They said something about like the path less followed or something. I'm like, does that mean you just have to get there first to the next course, or I don't know. There's some confusion there.
Yeah, this is getting off topic of Grand Prix into versus mode, but I just have several questions about like how that's going to work functionally. And we'll learn all this, but how do you get from the transition period into the track? And I'm more so talking about versus mode. So like when you pick your tracks that you want to do in versus mode, you usually ahead of time you pick 4, right? And then like don't you do them, or is it?
Yeah, you just kind of go one after the other.
Yeah, so it's like, what if you pick tracks that are like across the world from each other? Like, do you drive between those?
I think so, and I think you can. Like, because I remember seeing the direct. Like, you can kind of custom make your own Grand Prix. You can say like, hey, I want to start here in like the desert and then go to the ice, and then the way I understood it. So, yeah, I theoretically you could make these massive sort of tracks around the world, and driving to those, like, if you finish the race in first but then you got to drive, like, do you remain in first, even if you come in like fourth? I have a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, me too. And maybe some of these, I didn't watch all of the treehouse stuff. I watched most of it, and like, it's just gonna be confusing to see how this is gonna work. This is getting a little off topic, but another thing, maybe we'll come back to that later, actually.
Okay.
Because we're trying to talk about Grand Prix right now. So, what did you have on that?
I mean, that was basically it. I mean, this is part of the thing, like, right? It's Mario Kart. Like, at the core, Grand Prix is going to be the same. There's a little bit of change where you drive in between the tracks, but like you're going to get to the next track. You're going to race, see who gets in first, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of brings me to the next thing, like Knockout Tour, and I'm genuinely excited for this. I typically don't really care about like immediately playing something like online, but this just looks like an absolute blast to play online.
Yeah, I've actually thought of this exact scenario before, because it's literally just like, it's Fall Guys for Mario Kart.
Yeah,
at least like the main game of Fall Guys. And like, I have like literally dreamed of this exact scenario for Mario Kart, and this might be what I'm most excited about. I might be more excited for this than like the open world concept, because it's just gonna be fun. Like, I was thinking like, well, for one, I've had the thought of like, imagine how good it's gonna feel to win one of those online. I'm assuming that's gonna be that final stretch. I think the last bit is like 4 players. I think it's either 4 or 6. That last race of a tour is gonna be hot competition.
Absolutely. And I think something else too, it's kind of like the battle royale method, where like, hey, you're playing, you get knocked out in like the first or second race, like you can just jump over to something else. You don't have to hang around like losing in like a tournament style with like, Grand Prix. It's like, hey, I'm at the 3rd race and like there's no way I'm gonna even get in the top like 5.
It's gonna be awesome. I had a stream idea where it's like, maybe I would just like do it on a Saturday, and the stream is like Knockout Tour, or streaming until I win a Knockout Tour.
That would be,
and like, it could be over in 20 minutes. It could be like 7 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know. Knockout Tour I am really freaking excited for that. I cannot wait. It's so different than anything Mario Kart's had before. So it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of different, like, they've added some neat moves, I guess you would call them. Really Mario Kart for the most part is kind of stuck with like drifting, right? That's basically it. And in the dev interview, they were talking about how they basically were trying to figure out what else they could do with the driving, you know, besides just drifting, and how they were doing course design with it being like, you know, you can't make it like too curvy because then you can't see ahead. But if it's just in a straight line, that's not like super fun either. And so they thought about like, somebody had read something about like a skateboard, right? And I don't remember what the quote was, but they were like, hey, well, why don't we try and like give them basically the ability to jump and grind and all that. And so that's where they came up with like wall ride, you know, the grinding on the rails, and like the jump, which I completely forgot about until like a little while ago, where you like can hold down the button and actually like, jump up and like dodge stuff. Yeah, I feel like it like at first when I saw it, I'm like, okay, whatever, you know. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, as crazy as things are going to be with like the mass amount of racers that they're going to have in each race, like that could actually turn out to be really useful. Because like, how many times has somebody been behind or behind you and they go to like shoot a shell, right? And it's like, if you could just jump up out of the way, it would be so easy to just keep your place, right?
Yeah. I wonder that too. It's like, if you jump up on a rail at the right time, like, is the red shell still going to follow you up there?
I know.
Like, I mean, you have to assume the blue one will, but like, how's that going to work? And the thing that I'm wondering too, and the answer is probably no, but I'm curious to how these work. Like, is there any technique to them, or like, can you fail at them and crash and like do it, you know, like Tony Hawk or something? Like, if I'm a little bit too ambitious with a rail ride or like a jump or something, can I fail and crash? Like, can this bite me, or is like, if I just double tap A and then I do it no matter what happens? Like, I'm curious how that's gonna work too.
Yeah, because I mean, drifting's kind of that way. Like, you know, if you're trying to get like a boost,
it can burn you.
You know, you may mess up, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of implemented those. The one that I just can't, I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around why it's useful, is the rewind. I guess.
Dude, I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, like that's the one that I'm like, I guess if you're trying to like plan your way through a course and like you're trying to like hit it perfectly and like practice a certain section, it could be useful for that. But I mean, they said in the game, like, the racers keep going even if you rewind. So I'm like, well, I don't think I would ever use that in a race.
At first I was like, oh no, but then like, okay, it's disabled for online. It's only on single player against computers or like in the open world. The only useful thing, first of all, I'm not using this. That ruins the game for me. But the one use I can maybe see for it is when you're just exploring the open world, and like you're trying to get to like get up on top of something that you've maybe on GTA 5 when you're trying to ramp into the airport. You know, talking about when you like you go around there and you're trying to, maybe I could see it like being useful for that. Like if you're trying to get to like an area where you have to hit a ramp like just right to get over something and to get into some area, maybe. But I don't know. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to figure out how to disable it and not touch that because I'm not interested.
I can absolutely see myself being like in first and then accidentally hitting it and like getting back in like third and losing the race.
Yeah. Yeah, but or if like imagine you were, and again it's disabled from multiplayer, but like what if you were like trailing somebody on the last stretch and you throw a red shell and it hits them, but then they rewind or something like they're that it doesn't matter anyway because it's not how it works. But when I first saw it, I was like, what is this?
Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to mention that I thought was really cool just from like the dev interview was they were talking about the music, and they said that and again, I don't know much about like the Mario Kart 8 production, but this just really stood out. They said that they basically recorded all the music live. I guess previously they probably used like synths and stuff like that and kind of done it in a studio, but I guess they like really dedicated to like giving as much energy as they could in the game. So they went got
Mario Kart music. So
well, and they have over 200 tracks for this game. Like,
hell yeah.
They were like, we want to give that energy. Like when you're in a race and you like transition from like one area to another, like we want that to like be felt through the music. And for me, I just thought that was super cool. That level of dedication to like go in and say, hey, we're going to commit to like this full kind of player experience. And again, that interview kind of has helped me, I think, say like, yeah, maybe this game is going to be a little bit more than I previously expected.
Yeah.
But speaking of like massive with like 200, audio tracks or whatever, the world looks really big.
Yeah.
It looks amazing.
I started to say this a minute ago and got off track, but I wonder how long it'll take to get from like side to side and corner to corner and to do like a lap around like the outer length of it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, like, you can go out over the ocean, right? And like
oh yeah, because you can go in the water now too.
You can go into the bay, and I'm like, well, where's the limitation there, right? Like, it looks really big. The more when I like watched the direct a couple more times, I was like, dude, this really is going to be a big old game. Like, I don't know if it's going to, I would assume because you're driving, it's got to be like Breath of the Wild size, right? If not, maybe bigger. So I think that there's going to be a lot to explore in the game for sure. I just wonder if it's going to be so big, right, that it's going to feel maybe a little bit empty, or...
That's my concern.
Because, yeah, well, here's what we'll do. We'll save that for near the end, because that I don't want to get into the kind of like the negative stuff right now, because that'll come up. So speaking of big, again, we've got now 24 racers, which you can play online with 24 people in Mario Kart, and I feel like that's just going to get really, really, really hectic, especially with the courses being so big, right? Like, even like if you're all bunched together, it's just going to feel like absolute chaos. But I feel like even when you get spread out like on a track, right, you're still going to have packs, right? And so you're never really going to feel like isolated or alone in this big world, which I think is a really cool move.
The tracks that are being ported over are having to be modified to support all those people too, because like, the actual track will be wider. Turns are probably altered, stuff like that. So that'll be interesting to see how that's adapted into the new games too, because 24 people are not going to fit on Baby Park as is. And Baby Park isn't even the game, I don't think, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting, but yeah, it's going to be chaos. And I mean, Nintendo they took it from 12 to 24 in one game. Like, they didn't even give us they didn't even have like a 16 this generation. They just went all the way up to 24, which is going to be crazy. I remember that was like the first subtle detail I noticed in the original one. I was like, dude, there's 24 starting lines there, and that just like blew up the internet. So it's going to be awesome.
So we've got some new items, which I don't know how, like, we've got the coin shell. I guess that could give you an advantage. Like previously, right, like the more coins you have, the faster you go, kind of like bananas in, Diddy Kong Racing.
Yep.
So I guess that could, in theory, like give you a good boost, but like also your rivals can grab those. Out of all of the new things, I think the only one I'm really like, this looks really chaotic and fun, is like the Kamek. So you can just like get Kamek or whatever, and he'll like turn people into other NPCs, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think that looks really wild. But outside of that, like the rest of the stuff, I'll just have to see how it plays out. None of it seems like a game changer to me, right? Like, it's not like, when they brought out like the like speaker, like the sound thing that can break the blue shell, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, now I can like defend against that. So
one interesting thing I saw that was like the lightning, if you're inside like in a tunnel, it doesn't affect you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw that somewhere. I forget. I'm almost positive that's like official confirmed thing. I think I saw that somewhere. So there's a lot of like random little things like that they've upgraded to, which is kind of cool.
The other thing, obviously like the food and the outfits, like the more I've thought about it, like when I first saw it, I was like, that's kind of like a gimmick, right? But the more I thought about it, I'm like, they actually did take a lot of time to think about like these different parts of this world that you're a part of. And like, that's a cool thing, like that, hey, you want to go to each region and like get the cloth or item or whatever for, that particular region. I think that's a really cool feature the more I've thought about it, and will add more like, replayability to the game. Because like, hey, you're gonna, well, not replayability, but it's like a mission, right? Like, hey, let me go to the ice region and get like, the clothing there. Let me go over here and get the clothing there. I think that's a cool idea. I am wondering though, like how they're going to get that in like like organized, right? That's kind of my only question, because if you got like, let's say you've got 12 outfits, or even just 5 outfits for each person, like, are you going to have that on like a separate screen, or is it like you click on them and then you can select their outfit? Like, the way I kind of saw it in the direct is like they had like everybody wearing the same outfit on like a page, and I'm like, so are you got like pages of all the same characters with the outfit? Like,
yeah, the way it's organized did not look good.
Yeah,
from what I could tell. That seems like it'd be something that they could fix or update easily.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I don't want to scroll through 17 Marios before I get to the Yoshis, and 17 Yoshis before I get to whoever else. Like, it's chaos.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, that was mostly everything in the direct. You know, again, we're not here to just like completely review it and all that, but like, we've seen all this stuff up to this point. What to you felt like it was missing?
I have a lot of things, but I feel like some of them I'm like, I think this is how it is. I can't tell. Like, I feel like there's still so much unknown about this game. I think the number one thing for me that I was just like waiting for at the Mario Kart Direct, and that didn't happen, I was like, you're kidding me, was a true like single player experience. Mm-hmm. And I was wanting something a little bit more along the lines of like Forza Horizon, but also like Spirit Mode from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, where you have these different challenges and there's a story to it. And like, say you go to a section of the map and then you find like a Dry Bones, and he's like, in order to cross this, you have to do this challenge. Like, you have to go around this section of track and drift 8 times, or you have to do like 10 rail rides, or else you fail the mission. And I wanted some like interaction with that. Mm-hmm. And for there to be a story, like Bowser has done this and you have to go save the princess or whatever. And like the ending is like a race against Bowser and every minion he's had, or something like that. But this, I'm at least happy that there's something in the world to interact with. But the thing, it's just you go drive over the blue switches and do challenges. It's something, but that's very boring to me still. I just don't feel like it gives you a ton of incentive to explore. And again, like, it doesn't seem like there is a story to it. Like, where there should be boss fights and things like that to interact with. But it's just like, drive over this switch that you might find somewhere and you're done. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
We've talked before about how much I love Diddy Kong Racing, right? And when I think of like building a big open world game, and you know, I also think of like Breath of the Wild. So like, for me, one of the most fun parts of like Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom was like unlocking the map, right? Like, you don't have access to
the
that.
Towers,
like, it's so fun just like finding those, and there's like a challenge around them to unlock that. And I'm like, you could have that here in Mario Kart World, right? Because you have all these different regions, but I doubt that they're going to do that, right? So like, are you going to have access to everything right off the bat? Well, then, and in this game you kind of have to, right? Because you've only got like 30 tracks. But, you know, when I think about like Diddy Kong Racing and kind of what you're talking about, like, you know, you had the world and you had to like go to these tracks, and then you had to do challenges in the tracks and like do a boss race, right? And then you would unlock like the next region. And I'm like, yeah, I would really like for there to be more objectives, and maybe there will be. What I can say overall is like, and this will probably be for the rest of like what we talk about, like, if that stuff is in there, Nintendo didn't tell us. Like, they didn't do a great job of like completely selling maybe everything that Mario Kart has to offer. They were like, I feel like what they did is they said like, hey, we have Mario Kart, but it's in an open world. And we're like, well, we've played Mario Kart. And they're like, but you haven't played it in an open world. And I feel like that was kind of their delivery. And there could be a lot more, right? But yeah, like with the P-switches, right? They sort of touched on that. But I'm like, man, when you have this massive open world, like, I would have touched on that a lot more. You know, just because you want to show people, like, outside of the races, there's a lot more to discover in this game, right? Instead of just like driving around with your friends.
Well, that was like part of the issue that with the Direct that bothered me so much is it was what, 15 minutes? I feel like at least 6 minutes were like, in Mario Kart, you choose a character, and then you race a car around a track while throwing items, and the first person to cross the finish line is the winner, and then you do it again. It's like, cool. I wondered how Mario Kart worked. No, I didn't. So it's like all this, it's like, okay, get to the point.
Yeah.
And then they just brushed over stuff like how the P-switches work. Mm-hmm. They brushed over stuff with like how the outfits work. They only showed 2 battle modes.
That's a big one to me.
Yeah, it's like, where are the other battle modes? Are there more battle modes? Do we have 200cc? Do we have all these, like, will there be DLC? All these like things that are like, to me, the real questions they just didn't answer or address, or just brushed over them and spent half the Direct like telling you who Mario is.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, thanks for nothing. I didn't need to know that.
Well, and that's the thing, is I think with the Direct, like, you know, the people who are watching this are not like first time buyers of Nintendo stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Like, these are people that have probably played Mario Kart before. So like explaining to them how to play Mario Kart, like, that's not a great job of selling it. And if you've got this massive open world that the devs have spent like tons of time like being meticulous about the music, and that's why like when I read that article, I'm like, it actually gave me hope, because I'm like, it seems like they put a lot of effort into this that goes beyond just what they showed in the Direct.
If I was one of the developers of this game and I had like sold my soul to working on it for the last 7 years and this was my baby, and then I watched what they showed the Direct and the fan base's reaction to it, I would be really, really upset.
So that kind of makes me move to the next point. So, you know, obviously probably the biggest controversy for this was the price point, $80. And I feel like this kind of goes hand in hand with their delivery, right? Because there was all this stuff surrounding it where like the president of like Nintendo America basically said we're doing like variable pricing, and like if we think a title is worth $80, like we're going to price it at $80 because, you know, we think it's worth $80. And so then when they showed the Direct or whatever, from what I saw from the Direct, again, it's
wait for the Direct.
Yeah, wait for the Direct, right? And I did. I was like, man, okay, who knows, right? And it kind of was exactly what we said, right? It's like, hey, have you played Mario? If you've never played Mario Kart, this is what Mario Kart is. By the way, it's set in a big open world. And I'm like, yeah, but just to drive around a big open world aimlessly, like that's not an $80 experience. And, you know, I think the overwhelming reaction online that probably has been covered a million times is like, yeah, everybody agrees. Like, if you wanted to show us it was an $80 game, I don't think they did that, right? Like,
exactly.
It looks amazing. Like, it looks really fun. For me, it's like, it looks $50, like, right?
The problem is what's there looks incredible, but there is a lot of what is not there.
Yeah,
that's what I'm concerned about. What's not there?
Yeah, because I mean, legitimately, if they had come out and said like, "Hey, this is a next gen game," and then done exactly what you're talking about, like Bowser has stolen like the stars or whatever, or like Bowser's ghost has like taken over something, so you can still play as Bowser or Dry Bones or whatever, and you're having to go through and like defeat like I don't remember all his like Bowser's like minion turtles that he has, but like you have to race against each one of those, and then you earn the character, right, as like in a story mode, right? And it's like, hey, you do that or whatever, and you have to cover this big open world. Like, well, yeah, that sounds like next gen, big time story, big open world. $80, the most expensive game you've ever sold. Okay, let's give it a shot. But I think with them only including, you know, like, and I say only, but this is a massive game. But as far as like how much replayability are you going to get out of like the 30 tracks, right? Like, you know, it's like 4 tracks per thing, or per Grand Prix, and I think it's four tracks per knockout tour, right? So like you get like 6, 7.
It might be 6.
Okay.
It's either 6 races of 4 or 4 of 6. I can't remember.
Yeah, but like you're still not going to have like more than 10 times, right? That you're going to play 4 tracks, right? Because they've got 32 in the game. So like I think about like, hey, well, if me and my buddies are playing together, we're not going to play like the same run of Grand Prix tracks. Like we're going to play 4 or 5 different ones, right? And so I feel like, yeah, you play that, and then over the course of like a week, and it's like, well, now I've kind of learned all these tracks or whatever. Like, what do I do? Go drive around the open world, like, to just hang out with friends online? Like, I don't know. For me, again,
it's kind of like playing Animal Crossing online.
Yeah, and that's where
everyone gets an island, and it's like, well, now what?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is like it starts to drop off or whatever. But what was crazy is, again, in that like that dev interview, one of the things they said from the very beginning is they were like, in making this concept, we wanted this to be a game that people could play for a really long time. And I'm like, okay, so where is the mistranslation between that statement from the devs and the marketing side of stuff of like what we got in the direct that was like, here's Mario Kart, in case you didn't know. So
here's how to play Mario Kart.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like a lot of people have sort of talked about this at this point. I can say, I think we even said this in like our first video or whatever, if I didn't get this game in the bundle, from what Nintendo has showed, I probably wouldn't get it unless I found it on sale, which is super unfortunate because it seems, after reading the dev thing, like they've put a lot of time, a lot of effort into this, a lot of thought and a lot of heart. And I'm like, I want that to be reflected. I want their attitude and mentality to be reflected in the direct, and I feel like it just wasn't.
I mean, you think of like someone like Sakurai and like the way that dude like sells his soul to Smash Bros. And then like I feel bad for the people that like developed the game, and then the way that the direct like did not show its true colors, and then the extremely negative reaction that the direct got. That's tough.
Yeah, because I mean, I remember, I think it was like Beat 'em Ups. I like watched his stream or whatever, and he's sitting there, and after the direct ended, he was just kind of like quiet.
Cool, yeah.
And he was just
didn't say a word.
Yeah, he was just trying to process like what do I pull out of this that's like really positive, right?
Yeah.
And that's never a good thing. So and again, it's because it's got that asterisk of $80. If they were like starting at $59.99, I think everybody would have probably been like, yes, this is awesome.
Just a couple other like hopes that weren't met. This will be kind of a quick fire thing. We don't have to go super deep in all these, but we talked about the story. We hit the battle modes. The problem is, and I said this earlier, I've got this list of things, and it's like bad thing ... I think.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I don't even know. It's like I put only 2 battle modes. I think. Yeah. It needs more tracks. I think. I still don't understand. Like you already said this too, but like I don't totally understand like the characters and the outfits and how that's gonna work. One thing, this is sort of a side thing that also an I think section, but I'm concerned about the game dropping to 30 FPS on 4 players, split screen. That was the thing that really bothered me on 8 Deluxe, and I was like, dude, we got to fix this for the new one. And it was hard to tell, but it looked like on the direct when they showed 4-player split screen, it had dropped to 30 frames. I'm like, dude, I'll play the game at 720. Just give me 60 frames per second on Mario Kart, no matter what's going on. Because 30 is just, man, dude, I'm not trying to be like a graphics snob, but when you go to 4 players split screen on Mario Kart, it takes a hit, and it completely changes how it feels.
Yeah, well, and I don't think they said anything yet about like the performance mode, where it's like you can do 1080 120. It like
is that a thing?
I would hope so,
dude. That'd be awesome. But like, they can drop it to 1080 or even 720, because I mean, by the time, even on a big TV, when you split it into 4 sections, like it's not a huge deal if your resolution drops, but like, dude, it's gotta be 60 frames a second. It's a racing game, high speed, all that. So another one, I said this a minute ago too, but it's like, do we have 200 cc, 250? Like, mirror mode, like surely, but it didn't say.
Yeah.
And I think somebody had pointed out like there was like I don't know, I think it was on the treehouse when they saw 150cc, there wasn't like a right arrow on the right side of it, as if there are more beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like they're not playing the final versions of the games, but I was like, okay, so like, do we not have? Because especially on these long straightaways, it's like I hope we can go faster than that. So
yeah, because this will be really the first Mario Kart where like you can just drive for a long time without any sort of penalty. So I'm like, yeah, I would hope to goodness that they have something more than 150cc.
The new tracks look really cool, but I kind of thought it'd be cool if they brought in some tracks that were based on like the heavy hitters from the Switch 1 generation.
Mm-hmm.
Not like the actual games. So like if there was like a New Donk City track, or like something based on Animal Crossing New Horizons, or like Hyrule, and it just kind of has the vibes of like Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, just that vibe. Like the Kirby game, like there's so many that I don't know if you ever played Splatoon, but like there's so many locations and like maps in the Splatoon game that I think would be really cool for Mario Kart tracks, and I would have loved to seen something like that as kind of a salute or send off or whatever to the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
And then these are two like really these are like lifelong dreams for Mario Kart that have never happened and probably never will, but I've always thought like a track builder would be cool. I thought that would be like a cool thing to add, especially God, you have like the mouse mode now, like
oh
you
yeah,
can do so much
I
with
didn't
that.
even think of that, dude.
So that would be really cool, even if it was like fairly bare bones. But it's like if we can get Mario Maker, can we get Mario Kart Maker?
Yeah.
But, and then like we kind of have that with versus, or we kind of have this. I'm about to say with versus mode, but I've always thought it'd be cool to have like a custom Grand Prix builder where you can like not just like pick 4 tracks, but like give it a name and a logo, and I don't know, add some flair to it somehow.
Yeah.
To like make your own. I've always thought that would be cool. But one thing too, going back to like the is this an $80 game thing, and it's important to bring up, like if you have Mario Kart 8 with the booster pass, like if you bought it, not just from the online subscription, like it's an $85 game.
Yeah.
So I'm not optimistic, but there is like a little bit of like, okay, let's play devil's advocate. Maybe there will be no paid DLC for this game, and that's why it's $80 now just up front. So it's like, well, maybe we could see another world or another island, and then you've got more tracks and more things to explore and more missions. That maybe they bring in more characters, outfits, all of that. If that is the case, then that helps the staying of the $80 game. But at the same time, going back to like the future islands thing, I think it'd be cool if like they actually made those like game themed. Like what if there was like a Zelda
dude, that would be awesome.
Island or world and a Kirby one or whatever. Then you have a lot more freedom to expand into those tracks from other universes and stuff. But,
yeah, man.
And like another problem that I had too is like I guess it's tough because we just finished the booster pass stuff with Mario Kart 8 like what, year and a half, 2 years ago, and like some of those tracks were really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we just got them and now we're already like abandoning them. So I kind of had this false hope of like, dude, what if they brought over all of the tracks from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then you could still play them. And because for me it's like, if I'm playing a new game that runs on a new engine and has like a new feel and stuff, and I'm playing with a group of friends and we're like, oh dude, I really want to play that like bathtub track, or I really want to play whatever track from Mario Kart 8, then everyone has to like pop their game out and then, you know, go back to the old graphics, and then all the controls feel weird, you know, all that. So it's like, man, I just wish they were all in like one unified thing, and we had all these tracks that we just got.
Yeah.
And that was an unrealistic dream, but it just kind of sucked that like we just got all those and we're already moving on from them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of negative, but bottom line, there's a lot of good stuff to look forward to at this game, and I'm going to be playing the heck. I mean, it's kind of all we've got for a little bit until DK, other than the upgrades and like the third party stuff. So, So one other thing we wanted to mention was that, like we said, we've both got Switch 2s with the bundle pre-ordered, and we're both planning to do all kinds of like streams on launch day. We'll have a follow-up to this video where we like reevaluate our opinions after we've played the game for a little bit. So just make sure you check that out. All of our socials are now linked below. We'll be on Twitch, YouTube, all that. We're still kind of figuring the fine details of that out, but we'll be doing a lot of streaming on launch day when this thing comes out.
I mean, it's our launch title. You know, it does look really good. I don't have to pay $80 for it, so.
Yeah, I mean, we're only paying 50 technically.
Yeah.
So
you know, this I guarantee you this is going to be a fantastic $50 game. So
for sure.
So I really hope it. I want it to be really good. I want it to just like be like this. You guys you should have advertised it better. I want that to be my experience. I certainly hope it is. So. All right. Well, with that, I feel like we've probably covered everything that we want to, and probably a good time to wrap up. So, guys, if you liked the video, I probably should have said this at the beginning. Like, comment, subscribe. We're trying to get off the ground, and you know, it'd be great if you could get notified on future content when we drop stuff for like streams or, you know, whenever we're dropping new like podcast type videos. So, yeah, with that, we're gonna sign off. You guys have a good one, and until next time.